We're so close. Just a few more. Finish strong. Ahoy, hoy, gang! If this is your first time watching, welcome. And if you're joining from a previous video, hey, we love to see it. And I hope that you, in particular, are doing well. It's time for part 10 of Merry Bobmas. Top 10 episodes of season 10. Top 10. Top 5. Top 5 episodes. That would have been bad. You would have been expecting 10 episodes. And I don't think I could deliver it this season. This was actually a hard season to come up with a top 5 for. But yeah, no. What worked? What failed? What Tuttle cameos will be curtailed? There's a lot to see. How have you been? Here's the top 5 episodes of season 10. Number 5. Flat top of the morning to ya. You know what the worst part of this is? When I sat down to do these reviews, I actually struggled to come up with a top 5 for season 10. It was a little tricky. And like, flat top of the morning to ya, the B stories, whatever. I can tell you why it's in my top 5. It's because Richard Kind's in it. I just love Tuttle that much. I love American Dad that much that if I hear Richard Kind in anything, I'm gonna be dedicated to it. That got me to watch like 2 seasons of Big Mouth before I noped out. Like, I genuinely love anything that Richard Kind is in. I think he's great. And so to have an episode with him in it is phenomenal. Now, he does feel a little underutilized, but the B story is also great, where they make a ton of green meat against Bob, and then people don't want to eat green meat. Gee, I wonder why. It's like, that's so dumb and charming in the best way. I don't know. The whole auction thing is sort of whatever, but just hearing Richard Kind really breaks it up. It's like, you know, Paul Rubens and Amelia. It makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I love hearing Richard Kind. He's one of my favorite people. Number 4, boys just wanna have fungus. And like, okay, I love this episode mostly because I'm something of a mushroom man. I know who Merlin Sheldrake is. I have dabbled with the ways of the fungus for many a moon. And there's always something so endearing about an episode about truffle hunting or mushroom hunting. And, you know, sometimes you just got to see the main characters have some of that moral madness. And I love how earnest the episode is. Like, Gene and Bob just want to get mushrooms. Gene isn't making a stink bomb or anything. He's just sort of fascinated. And of course, Bob would be into it. And of course, there'd be mushroom bandits. That's perfect. Last episode was on the list because Richard Kind was in it. This episode is literally in it just because Bob and Gene go mushroom hunting. And that's fine. Sometimes you just mushroom hunt. And I don't know. I like Thomas Lennon and things. I like that we got basically more Reno 911 actors. And I know I talked about that a ton. I'm just a huge Reno 911 fan. So to see most of the cast in the show at one point was really kind of something special to me. I don't know. Like, Thomas Lennon is super funny to me. So every time I hear him, I smile a little bit. Sue me. Number 3, Legends of the Mall. It's funny, I hate anthology episodes, but I love a great vignette episode. And I love the Belchers at the mall. The Tina story is probably the weakest for me, but I had just finished watching Tacoma FD with my wife, so seeing Eugene Cordero in there was fun. I got a kick out of that. But, you know, the Bosco and Bob shopping for pants together, that's amazing. You know, Linda spoiling wine murders, terrific. It's a perfect vignette where everybody has just enough time on their little adventure for it all to come together. I love it. I think it's really, really strong. Again, the Tina stuff does drag it down a little bit. The Louise stuff, I would argue, goes on for just a hair too long. And that's the difference between it being number 3 and number 2. Like, genuinely, that's it. It is a great episode. It's arguably one of the best of the season. And it's got some of the best jokes. I would argue it's actually funnier than the 2 entries ahead of it.
The 2 entries ahead of it are up there for different reasons, but I would say Legends of the Mall is easily the funniest episode of the season, and Gary Cole at his absolute best on the show. Sergeant Bosco is his best self in this season, and especially this episode. I don't know. I have seen this episode 4 times since the review, and each time I find something new to laugh at. Number 2, Just the Trip. I really never expected to like Nat as much as I do. Like, there is no... I am not the target demographic for Nat at all. And so when she came into the show, I was like, oh, yeah, that's a fine character. I'm kind of about what she does. She's wacky enough for the family. And then you get an episode like Just the Trip, where you're like, okay, this is a Belcher episode, except no, it's not. It's a Nat episode. It's Nat trying to rekindle a flame and bring back a snake, and the Belchers are along for the ride. Like, again, if they ever did a spinoff with Nat, I don't think I'd even be that upset. They have shown she has wacky people in her life, and she lives a very storied life. But also, I think she's a great influence for the family. You know, doing weird things, but doing them pseudo-responsibly. It means something to have a character like Nat. And so to have the family doing a road trip that just implodes on itself, and Nat's a part of it, it shines. Now, I will say, Gene is probably my favorite character in this entire episode, because he's just a little trooper. He is absolutely panicked when that snake is on him, and he is doing his best to hold back, and I love it. I love that Gene is struggling. Louise's worst is just the absolute worst this episode. She is a nightmare, a menace. She should not have been able to have gone into the fun house after all that. Like, no, Louise was absolutely in the wrong. But there's just this weird air to the episode. It feels very Waters-esque, like John Waters-esque, but not quite going that weird with it. Even that last scene with the bag of snakes just riding up Bob as he drives. I think about that scene so often, so enchanted by just this one-off scene that doesn't mean anything. It baffles you, you know? And if an episode can baffle me, if an episode can leave me slightly aghast, just sort of like, what is going on here? But not in like a, this doesn't do what it's supposed to do way. Like, you can tell when an episode fails at the trope it's going for, or the story structure it's set up. But when it directly challenges that structure, when it directly challenges what you would expect in that last moment, I don't know, there's just something oddly enchanting about this episode. Number 1, The Ring, but not scary. Oh, look, it's another Nat episode. Who doesn't love Nat? Nat isn't in the wrong at all. Nat did nothing wrong. Nat is there to save the day after the kids get the ring that Bob worked so hard to afford and lost it at the water park. What is that? And true, they did immediately feel remorseful and everything, but like, bruh, what? No, like, I get it, that's kids, but Bob is just so genuinely gutted because he understands he needed to do more for Linda. He wanted to do more for Linda, but he did what he could afford to do. And that's what makes Bob such an endearing character. Bob knows how important Linda is to him. He doesn't need anyone to tell him that. He doesn't need anyone to reinforce it. Their relationship is so genuine, so oddly healthy, that it shines in this episode. You want Bob to find that ring. No matter what that ring looks like, Linda will adore it because it's something that Bob got with genuine thought and heart. She wants things that say something, that mean something, and he delivers on it. He makes her happy. He's given her family. They've raised incredible kids that are horrible sometimes. And it's that imperfect perfection that makes this episode shine so much to me. Even that last bit where the ring is in the bird's nest has a narrative weight and will come in the Rudy episode later on. But it's just like, there's a creative vision to this episode. There's a creative vision to this show, 10 seasons deep, that means something, that carries a weight. And that's just something incredible. And there we have it, my top 5 episodes of season 10. You didn't watch this video to hear me sing, but you heard me sing. Merry Bobmas, everyone! That was my top 5 episodes of season 10. Anything you think I was right on, wrong on? What are your top 5 episodes? Bottom 5 episodes? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked what you saw, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends we're out here. I don't know what that voice was. Season 10 was a tricky one to come up with 5 episodes for, and realistically, the top 5 in this list aren't even episodes I'd probably revisit all that often. They're just kinda there. And that's fine, I guess. It's just kinda disappointing. Like, of all the seasons, I think season 10 might actually be the weakest one. You hate to see it. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here at the Lecture Hall. And if you want to support the channel, consider joining our Patreon or membership programs today. $2 a month gets you special polls, posts, and even your name on this fancy list. Like always, stay strong, keep fighting, know that I believe in you, and I know that things are going to be better. Things have to get better. A rising tide lifts all ships, and I can feel one incredible wave a-coming. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you all next time in the next brilliant chapter of Merry Bobmas.